Why can't we just use a cheap, compact relay to fire up a massive three-phase industrial motor? I mean, a switch is a switch, right? Well, imagine this scenario. You're trying to cut some corners, so you wire a heavy-duty 480-volt electric motor straight through one of those tiny control relays. Yeah, it doesn't go well. In a terrifying burst of sparks, the tiny contacts inside that relay will instantly weld themselves completely shut. You're suddenly looking at a major electrical hazard, a totally fried component, and a machine that literally cannot be turned off. It's a textbook 480-volt mistake, and it perfectly sets up the problem we're solving today, understanding exactly how relays and contactors differ and why contactors are built so robustly.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with mechanics, look at load capacity and arc suppression, explore their architecture, trace out some motor wiring, and wrap it all up with a final summary. Let's uncover the brilliant engineering that makes a contactor the ultimate heavy-duty solution.
Okay, section 1, mechanics. Let's look at how they actually work.
Before we really get into their differences, we need to look at their shared DNA. Both relays and contactors are electromechanical switches, and their operating principle is identical. First, you apply a control voltage, say 24 volts DC, to the coil terminals, which are usually labeled A1 and A2. Second, this creates a magnetic field. Third, that field physically yanks a spring-loaded armature downward. And fourth, that movement slams the normally open contacts together, closing the circuit. Cut the power, the magnetic field collapses, and a heavy return spring forces those contacts apart again. So mechanically, they're twins. The real differences are in their power handling, safety features, and architecture. Which brings us right to section 2, load capacity. This is our first major divide. We are talking about brute strength here. Just look at the sheer scale of the difference in current capacity. Control relays are, well, they're delicate. They're designed for low current stuff, usually maxing out between 5 and 15 amps at single phase voltages. They're basically messengers, sending signals to PLCs or little indicator lights. But the industrial contactor, those things are absolute beasts. They are built for heavy power, handling anywhere from 20 amps up to well over 1,000 amps per phase across three-phase systems. They pull this off using massive copper alloy contacts that are engineered to survive extreme punishment. And they absolutely need those massive contacts because of a phenomenon called inrush current. See, when a large three-phase motor starts up, it doesn't just politely sip its normal running current. It gulps down an initial electrical surge that can be up to 8 times its full load amps. 8 times! A contactor is specifically built to take that massive spike right on the chin without the metal pitting or melting. Let's move to section 3, arc suppression, taming the plasma. This is arguably the most dramatic difference, and it explains exactly why our cheap relay exploded and welded shut earlier. When you open a circuit that's under a heavy electrical load, the electricity doesn't just politely stop. It desperately wants to keep flowing. As those metal contacts pull apart, 480 volts of power will literally ionize the air between them, creating a conductive bridge right across the gap. This is what we call a plasma arc, and it is violently hot. As our source points out, this creates a superheated plasma arc that can reach thousands of degrees Celsius. Standard control relays have tiny little contact gaps and absolutely zero built-in arc management. They are completely defenseless against this kind of heat. If you force a relay to interrupt a heavy motor load, that superheated arc will instantly char the plastic housing and literally melt the metal contact points together into a permanent, dangerous weld. So how do contactors survive this inferno? Well, check out the metal divider plates inside the contactor chamber. Those are known as arc chutes. When the contacts open and that massive arc forms, the magnetic field generated by the current itself actually pushes the arc upward, stretching it into these divider plates. The plates slice that single deadly arc into multiple smaller arcs, rapidly cooling and extinguishing them in just milliseconds. It's an incredibly elegant way to tame superheated plasma. Moving on to section 4, architecture. We need to look at contact layouts. The physical shapes of these devices perfectly match their jobs. Relays are all about flexible logic. They typically feature double throw contacts, like SPDT or DPDT, meaning they've got both normally open and normally closed pads, sharing a common pin. Contactors, on the other hand, are totally dedicated to heavy lifting. They feature 3 separate, single-throw, normally open main power poles. You'll see them clearly labeled line 1 through 3 and load 1 through 3. And they are designed specifically to carry 3-phase power straight to a motor. But wait, what if your contactor needs to tell a PLC that it just turned on? Or what if it needs to light up a running indicator on a control panel? Since the main poles are completely hogged by the high voltage, we use auxiliary contact blocks. These are secondary, low-power contacts, like a 1314 normally open or 2122 normally closed block that physically snap right onto the outside of the contactor. When the big main contactor pulls in, it mechanically triggers these little auxiliary blocks too, giving us perfect status bits for our logic circuits without mixing high and low voltages. Okay, let's dive into Section 5, motor wiring. This is where we put all this theory into practice and build a real-world starter panel. Industrial panel design is brilliant because it completely separates the heavy, dangerous power from the delicate control logic. First, let's look at the power circuit. You start with your three-phase 480-volt source. That power flows through a circuit breaker for safety, then drops down into the contactor's main line poles, L1, L2, and L3. When the contactor closes, power blasts out the load terminals, T1, T2, and T3. From there, it passes through a thermal overload relay, which makes sure the motor doesn't overheat, and then finally out to the massive motor windings themselves. That is your heavy lifting path. Now let's trace the safe, low-voltage side, the 24-volt DC control circuit. This is the logic sequence that actually tells that massive contactor to wake up. The 24-volt current flows first through a stop button, then a start button, and then it passes through a normally closed safety contact on the thermal overload relay, usually pins 95 and 96. If everything is safe and running cool, the power finally hits the contactor coil at terminal A1, with A2 returning to 0 volts.
But here's the catch. When you press start, the coil energizes and the motor runs. Great, but what happens when you take your finger off the start button? The circuit breaks, right? The motor would just die. That's where the seal-in contact comes in. It is a seriously clever wiring trick. You take one of those snap-on auxiliary normally open contacts we talked about, pins 13 and 14, and you wire it directly in parallel with the start button. Now, when you push start, the contactor closes, and this auxiliary contact closes right along with it. It acts as an alternate bridge for the electricity sealing in the circuit. It keeps the coil energized and the motor running even after you let go of the button.
And that brings us to Section 6, final summary, our definitive rule of thumb.
So if you're wondering exactly when to use which component on your next panel build, this side-by-side data makes it crystal clear. You're going to use a control relay when you're dealing with signal switching, logic control, or currents under 15 amps at lower voltages like 120 volts AC or 24 volts CC. Just remember, they have flexible logic but absolutely zero arc control. However, the second you need to switch heavy three-phase equipment, high current motors pulling 20 to 1,000 amps, or any 480-volt load, you absolutely must upgrade to an industrial contactor. They feature those critical arc chutes to safely kill plasma, and they pair directly with thermal overload relays to keep your gear safe. It is just incredible how two devices with the exact same basic mechanical movement serve such vastly different roles simply by changing their scale and adding arc suppression. Now that you know exactly how relays and contactors differ, and you've seen the sheer destructive power of an untamed 480-volt plasma arc, what heavy-duty circuit are you going to wire up next?